This was a script that had been around.
Well, I wrote it 8 years ago,
Yeah.
but it wasn't like I was trying to flog it around or anything like that. I kind of wrote it and didn't...
Let it rest and marinate?
Yeah, just kind of, it was pretty much identical to the one we started from, you know, a year and a half ago. But I was doing a different project with Sam, actually, Seven Psychopaths, and this one could have happened first, but because we'd set the ball rolling with that one, and that was 5 years ago, this was always going to be the next one. And then after we finished that, I'm kind of lazy, so I just kind of traveled around and did nothing for a few years.
Mildred looks like, just in that trailer, a fascinating woman.
I think she is a fascinating woman.
Tell me more.
Well, you know, you put Martin's writing in a cocktail shaker, and you put me in that cocktail shaker, and a bunch of other good folk from the theater world, and you mix it up, and you're just happy. You're happy. Also,
so you saw it in the script.
Oh yeah. Well, Martin actually wrote it for me, and he's seen not only my film work but a lot of my theater work. So he knew what he was dealing with, and I'm 60. Charlie, come on, you know, I got a breadth of work, and I got some stuff on my face to work with.
Yeah, but you got some talent too.
Yeah, you know, I've worked hard. I was told in drama school I was not naturally talented, and so I went at it.
You did?
Systematically. Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, okay. So
I'm
you
going
went
to
out to
change
prove
their
them
mind.
wrong.
Yeah.
You went out to multiply that talent.
I didn't know how to do anything else. I'm a pretty good housewife, but besides that, I hadn't really any other.
Nothing. That was it.
I wanted to do
if
it.
If it wasn't acting, you don't know what you would have done.
Housewife.
Housewife.
Yeah.
So who is Mildred? I'll ask you.
She's a mother. She's someone who's lost her daughter to a horrible murder 7 months before the story started, and that she's gotten through, I think, the grief and the sadness and depression, and she's come out. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but she's come out at the end of that with pure rage almost. At the beginning of the film, she's raging that the police haven't really done enough to solve the crime. And it's certainly a character I'd never written before, a woman who is that strong and outrageous almost, but you know, had a heart, but didn't have to wear that on her sleeve.
Yeah, what I would add to it is I think that I don't think the grief will ever be over. I think that that's part of Mildred's tragedy and any parent that loses a child, because it's a biological imperative that you keep them alive. But I think that what happens is that after that 7 months, she takes action, radical action, and that breaks the paralysis of the grief. And knowing full well there'll be collateral damage. Robbie, her son, people in town.
Yeah. But he said an interesting thing. He said, correct me if I'm wrong, he created the character. But you have also...
Yeah, well, it became a collaboration.
That's right.
I mean, we had one major debate after I read the script, at knowing, you know, being so honored and so excited. You do not get a gift like this. Even from your family members. I'm waiting for my family members to give me another gift like this. But especially, well, you gave it to me like 3 years ago, so, you know, when I was, do the math, 57. And, but I was concerned about the character's age, because I'm from a working class background, and I feel like a lot of women from that socioeconomic world, as Mildred's, wouldn't wait till they were 38 to have children. So I was concerned about playing the mother of younger children, 16 and 18. And so I asked Martin to make Mildred their grandmother, knowing that a lot of grandmothers do raise their grandchildren. Sure. But he was really, and I think rightfully so, was really connected to the idea of her being a mother in kind of the Greek tradition of how mothers fight for their...
Revenge.
Yeah, well, yes,
revenge?
Justice. It's justice.
It's not revenge.
We never talked about revenge because it almost makes it too... Justice is larger.
Well,
Justice is a larger goal.
It's larger. What do you want your actors to do?
Bring the truth, I guess. Just bring the truth to the characters as they see it, or as we see it between us, I think. Yeah. We, in all of the stuff, but in this particularly, we talked it out. I wouldn't call it rehearsal really so much as just talking it through beforehand, trying to get on the same page with each other about who we think these characters are. And going forward together, me trying to get out of the way as much as possible.
Get out of the way.
Yeah. get out of the way of their choices and their performances.
So what? Stimulate,
whilst
then
sticking
get
to
out
the
of the
script, I
So what?
kind of-
Stimulate and give them a text. Stimulate the sense of what this adventure is about, and then get out of the way. Let them find it.
Pretty much.
There's kind of a point in a good collaboration where we become the experts because we're living the interior lives of the characters as well as the, honoring the words on the page. That's not always the case. I would say that we're presented 3/4 of the time with blueprints. There's huge holes in the story, plot lines, character development, and we have to fill a lot more of that in. But with Martin's work, it's like a play. You start inhabiting it from the minute you decide to do it, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so you can inform, then you go into meetings with costume designers and hair and makeup, and we can actually help Martin because we start
Gotcha.
living the
How long
interior
did it take
life.
you to do-
Mama Dixon is played by an extraordinary actress,
Sandy
Sandy
Martin,
Martin. And what's wonderful about the way that the chemistry between Sam and Sandy in the film is like they really are like spores from the same tunnel, right? And
the word
but
spores.
Spores from the same tunnel.
but Mildred and Mama Dixon are cut from the same cloth. They're women. Missouri women that are cut from the same cloth. So there's not.
What's that cloth?
Bark cloth.
Bark cloth.
I'd say a nice bark cloth. Well, yeah. Floral pattern, perhaps. But right.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I think there's some.
Yeah,
There's
working
kind of
class,
a It's a working class. We got it. But I think also that there's something about Mildred is allowing her machismo to come forward, and that kind of.
It's a nice way to say it. She's allowing her machismo to come forward. I mean, it is rushing out of her. Yes.
I think that's part of the radical action she takes.
You thought of John Wayne as a kind of model here?
I did. I have to say in retrospect, I worked really hard for just such an occasion to come up with a female iconic cinematic character that I could, and the only one I could, who would you think of?
Barbara Stanwyck.
I should have talked to you. Well, yes, sure. Though, it's interesting because I didn't cast
She's the only one I
that
could
far
think of
back.
that would be.
Yeah, would have the same balls, shall we say.
Yeah.
Though it really felt like a cowboy to me. And I've always wanted to play a cowboy. So and it's interesting. I had just read a biography about John Wayne, cover to cover, and I usually don't read biographies cover to cover, but it was a really well-written one. Cannot remember the author's name.
What do you do? Stop halfway, or?
I'm not that interested in actors' lives after a certain point, but there was something about the breadth of his life that was really fascinating.
Stuntman, right?
Yeah, came at you and had to work in B movies for so long before he got, that he did Stagecoach. So it was fascinating.
Mildred's relationship with her son changed after the death.
Yeah, I think the months of paralysis. I mean, I'm not one big one for backstory, but Lucas and I talked a bit about it. We had a lot of time in that car where we shot our scenes, so we talked a lot about acting because he's a young actor, I'm an older one, so we had fun with that. But I think what I offered him was the idea that for 7 months she was probably laying around on the couch, comatose and not really eating or drinking or speaking. And so though her actions are not great for him or his life and not completely understandable, at least she's seems like herself again.
You prefer actors who've had some experience on the stage in theater?
I wouldn't say I go out and seek it, but I think it just naturally happens.
What is that then, though?
I guess it's a lack of love of movie stardom and a love of acting.
Yes,
These are all
well
actors.
said.
There's probably more mean-spirited ways of saying it, but it's
true.
that. They're all proper actors, and I think proper actors know that they'll have to do theatre for good parts as well as movies.
Did you guys go ahead?
I think you've always said that if you want the good parts, you have to go back and forth between.
It's
the
like
Is that
going
right?
back to the training ground. But I also think none of us yet and if I catch you doing it, we don't sell perfume or watches or cars. You know, you don't have, our faces
Has
aren't.
Lucas done that yet?
We'll have to ask him.
I've spoken to him about it.
Okay,
I
good.
said,
He's a
yeah.
very good
Don't you be
actor.
selling any.
Christopher Walken. Has he done it?
It's kind of hard to for
Paul
an
Newman sold
audience.
stuff in Japan.
Yeah, see
For
that
charity-
it
for charity.
started it in Japan.
Yeah.
Yeah, the ad thing started, and I think people thought when we weren't so global that was there and it wasn't. But it's really difficult, I think. So you know, if we wanted to play a heroin addict living on the street, it would be really hard if somebody had just seen us in a magazine, you know, with diamonds dripping
Right.
off our ears. It's really hard to go past. For me, even people who whiten their teeth too much. Do you know? And you go, well, I don't know. I don't really try. So I think it really it behooves an actor who wants to play a wide variety of characters.
Stay real.
Closer.
Yeah.
It's still a movie, after
Yeah,
all. You know, we got people fixing our hair all day, so it's not like we're really living
And
it.
a little makeup
It's
when you
not
go
a
out.
documentary, right?
Sure, it's not.
But on the other hand, I think
Perfect.
it's for the storytelling. It's just so much easier.